it was no more than my agent saying, Geoffrey, they've rung and they want to know if you're free for 52 weeks. And I went, oh, heaven, to play an old man. Oh, I said. And eventually, I never read a script. I just said, no, tell them too long and too old.
And welcome to From the Archive, a British television vlog. My name is Greg Bakken, and there was a time, probably about 7-8 years ago, that I was doing actually pretty well with money, making a good living, and had some excess income. And there was a time that I made a decision to really go after Network and buy up as many of the series that, even though if I didn't know anything about them, that I was going to pick them up because I liked the cover or I liked the just the overall feel of the series. And I ended up picking up quite a few drama and comedies. One area I kind of stayed away from was panel shows and stuff like that, with the exception of something like Who Done It. But generally, it was a lot of comedies and dramas, and whatever else that I found very interesting, or may have heard of before, but actually never seen. One of them was Catweazle. And we're going to be talking about this today because I had watched this recently. Now, the reason why we're doing videos this way now, I actually made a video to explain how I'm going to do videos. And if you want to see that, which explains how I watch shows and why I'm picking the shows I'm picking to do videos on, check out that video. I put the link in the description if you want to check it out. It's a real true insight into kind of how sad I am as a human being and how much I enjoy British television, and I think you might get a kick out of it. But what we're doing here is we're looking at programs that I have recently watched, and while it's fresh in my mind, I want to talk about them, talk about the release and how I watched them, and maybe share some of the other things that go along with that particular series that I feel is kind of fun to show off as well. Now, I watched Catweazle from December 2024 to March of 2025, and I took a little time out in around Christmas of 2024 because what I ended up doing is for a couple weeks in December, I always pick a bunch of Christmas shows of different series I love, and I'll watch those, and it's always a lot of fun. I really like to get in that Christmas spirit that way. It's really a lot of fun. But then when we're done with that, I came back to Catweazle and we finished it up. Now, I do want to warn people before I go much further is that there will be spoilers. If you had not watched Catweazle before, I will be freely talking about the plot and how the seasons end and stuff like that. Not that there is necessarily this is a series that's, has a lot of like cliffhangery sort of stuff to it, but you may not want to know. You may want to watch the program yourself. So I want to warn you now that there are going to be spoilers about Catweazle in this video. And the series ran for 2 series in 1970 and 1971. Now, Catweazle itself, for those who are unaware, and you may, if you're like me, there's a lot of series that you may have heard the name of a show. You may have heard the name before, but may not know exactly what it's about. So let me explain to you. Catweazle is a British fantasy television series that originally aired for 2 series between 1970 and 1971 by London Weekend Television. It was created and written mostly by Richard Carpenter. That name may be familiar as he is the creator of Robin of Sherwood back in the 80s. And Catweazle follows the misadventures of a bumbling, eccentric 11th century wizard named Catweazle who accidentally transports himself through time to, back then, modern-day England, and easily confused by the modern world and convinced that electricity is electricery. Catweazle tries to adapt while hiding out in barns and sheds, all the while searching for a way to return home and to his own time. Along the way, he befriends a young boy named Carrot, who helps him out of trouble and out of sight. And that's in the first series. Filled with charm, humor, and a touch of melancholy, Catweazle is a whimsical tale about magic, friendship, and the clash between ancient ways and the modern world. And that's exactly what we get about it. Catweazle itself, from what I watched, and I watched the entire run of it, Catweazle is very much a kid's series. And there are some kids series that may not always feel like a kid's series, and some that I feel like are definitely kids series. And this is one of them. And that's not a bad thing. It's just that, you can see why British, people who watched this at the time, now they're older, you could see why that there is such love for the character. And that's what struck me the most was Catweazle himself, Geoffrey Bayldon. He is magical in this series, and literally from the first frame, the show is it's his. I couldn't imagine anyone else play Catweazle, even though I know that there was a film, a German film, back in 2018 or something, looks kind of like him, but I can only see Geoffrey Bayldon as Catweazle. Now, Bayldon, of course, was originally offered the role of Doctor Who back in 1963. And I find that very interesting. He turned it down, obviously, right? But he turned it down. He was quite young at the time, and he was pretty young for Catweazle as well. So the thing, obviously, what happened here, is what we're seeing here with Catweazle, this younger Geoffrey Bayldon being made up to look older. That's what we would have got with Doctor Who back in 1963, which really sets a whole lot of thoughts in mind of where the series would be now, or would it have ended if Bayldon left because he was young. He could have played it for a long time. Of course, it is fair to say William Hartnell was young to a certain extent, I guess. When he took the role of Doctor Who, he was made to look older too, but not as young as Bayldon was. I felt like also the brilliance of Catweazle is that he would bumble, get himself into trouble continuously, kind of like a cat, I guess, Catweazle, but he was far from stupid. Catweazle is not a stupid character. What makes him not super intelligent is because he's in the modern world. He's in the 1970s. Coming from the 11th century, there's so much new that he doesn't understand. And there are moments in the show when, like, Carrot will ask him to do something which we seemingly would understand, and when he does it, it actually makes sense because he's actually taking the words that Carrot's saying and doing what he wants him to do, but it's not what it's supposed to be. And it's hilarious. Those are really funny moments, and it's kind of like Richard Carpenter. You really had some really fun thoughts about this, and really him and Catweazle just they go hand in hand. Richard Carpenter really knew how to write Catweazle, and Geoffrey Bayldon really knew how to play it. It was a truly a wonderful connection for that. Now, Catweazle would have a lot of sayings and say things that were in every episode, and I said one of them at the beginning, and some of these phrases are really pretty fun. For example, obviously his most famous is electrickery instead of electricity. I think that is really pretty pretty spot on, pretty inspired, really. Something that I always say, actually, because technology never seems to do what it's supposed to do. Catweazle would always say, "Nothing works." When things would go wrong, nothing works. And I thought, my gosh, him and we're on the same page here. Because long before I ever seen Catweazle, I would just be frustrated because nothing works. And I would say that. I'd be like, nothing works. So I must have been, even before I saw the show, I was channeling Catweazle. Sami Dalad is another when he is mutters while casting spells or doing rituals. He'll say that. What else do we have here? He will say, "Magic, show thy power." A dramatic line when he's tempting to summon up or use magic. And then he will, for introductions, he'll be like, "I am Catweazle, the great magician." What I think is really fun about that is that he might come across as bumbling, but he has great dignity whenever he introduces himself. He is, when he says Catweazle, it's like Catweazle. Very, very proper. This dirty, grimy magician suddenly has a kind of a flare of sophistication to him when he says his name.
Yes, I am Catweazle. Huh? Hearken to me, young sorcerer. I come from the time when this land was conquered by William of Normandy.
And I think that's great because, once again, I think that this is, it's very important to remember that he is not stupid. He is not an idiot. His magic may not go right all the time, but there are times that he shows Carrot exactly what he said he's going to do, and it's pretty impressive as well. Now, this is the first time I ever seen Catweazle, and I've heard about it for years and years and years. And when you get a lot of telefantasy books, you will see pictures of Catweazle or be talked about. And so it was something that I was very interested in. And, obviously it's hitting me different than if I had been a viewer of it when I was younger. Even if I'm not in the UK, if I was able to see this on TV when I was, 7, 8, 9, something like that, I'm sure I'd be really happy to see this show. I actually don't know if Catweazle ever aired in the US. I'd be interested to know if anyone had seen it over here, because I don't recall personally ever seeing Catweazle over here, but something being shot in film like that in beautiful locations, you would think that it would make its way over here somewhere, somehow, and air. If anyone's ever seen Catweazle on U.S. television, let me know. I'm very curious about that. And I understand that there is a deep connection for viewers that were the right age at the right time watching Catweazle. And I don't have that. I mean, I will say that, to be very honest. I do not have that. What kept me going in watching the show, and the plots weren't bad at all, but what really kept me going, like I said, was Geoffrey Bayldon, and I'm going to get to in a little bit the guest stars, because for a children's series, there were some phenomenal guest stars in this show, and I'll be talking about them here in a second. Now, between series 1 and 2, Catweazle had a different supporting cast. Things changed quite a bit. Now, in my opinion, series 1 is an overall stronger series, but the second season has a more focused arc to it. The first series supporting cast of characters is Carrot, who is not quite even a teenager yet, just about there, and he's the one that hides Catweazle and makes sure that there's a place for him to stay, as well as make sure that he gets food and everything. Carrot's father, Mr. Bennett, and Sam, they were great, as it was some sort of wholesome country life that I had kind of always imagined families like that could live in the UK. You know, it just seemed like a nice, quaint farm life. You know, in the UK, you always see like it's always rainy and cloudy and stuff, but here it's always sunny and beautiful. And I just really loved it. It was really good. Carrot respected his father and had to balance that with trying to keep Catweazle a secret. Sam, played by Neil McCarthy, was also great in the series. Now, stay with me on this, okay? Series 1 of Catweazle always gave me some kind of Spearhead from space vibes. And you might be like, what are you talking about? Are there autons walking around killing people? Sadly, no. But what is happening is like this lush greenery. They're both shot, I would say, just about the same time. They're in rural England, and it just has the same sort of feel to it. And I couldn't help but just feel that, not just like one episode, but virtually throughout the first series, I'd be watching and thinking, gosh, I just feel like this is just like Spirit from Space. Anyone else ever feel that way? Or am I literally just kind of going mad over here? I would love to know. It's just kind of my thought. And even the music cues in some cases, they were sort of the same in some areas too. Now, Dudley Simpson did not do the music for Catweazle, but I don't know. It just seemed kind of familiar. But you know, if you ever thought that, you know, let me know. I'd be curious to know if you thought that as well. Now, series 2 takes place at a castle that became an estate home, Collingsford Manor. Now, Catweazle in this series, because Catweazle gets back actually at the end of series 1. He gets back to where he's supposed to go. Series 2 is different, and now Catweazle gets catapulted back to modern day England. Now it's 1971. He's no longer with on the farm with Carrot and Mr. Bennett. Now he's at the Collingsford Manor, and Catweazle is on a quest that getting to find these certain items, and is one to be found every week of the show. Funny enough, the amount of items that need to be found matches the number of episodes in the series. And if he gets all this stuff, it will make him fly back to his home. That's what he kept saying. He flies back to his home. Now, he befriends a new young boy named Cedric, also known as Owlface, whose parent runs the estate. I'm assuming he's called Owlface because he wears thick glasses. And if there's something that really annoys me about this series, is that neither Cedric or Carrot believe Catweazle when he talks about his magic. Regardless of him showing them time and time again, it works. Now, it doesn't always work, and we see that, and that's kind of the charm of it, but it works enough. And I find that it was very, especially Carrot at the end of series 1. Well, it's just something that it really bothers me, actually, even now. The end of series 1, even more so, Carrot is just really rude to Catweazle. And I felt he was very rude to him, especially after, I don't think Catweazle needs to prove to Carrot that he's a magician. And in the last episode, Carrot finds out, yeah, he can do what he says, and Catweazle leaves him, and there's no real goodbye or anything. And that I say that's unfair, and that actually really, really kind of annoyed me. And then Cedric helps Catweazle in Series 2 to get everything he needs to be able to fly home. Well, the ending of that series, as far as I'm concerned, is nothing more than certain death for Catweazle, because it ends up with Catweazle being in a big old hot air balloon, and Catweazle thinks that this is going to fly him back to his own time. We certainly don't see any magic happening, so this poor wizard from the 11th century is just at the end of the series. He's just flying away, not knowing how to pilot a hot air balloon, and he's piloting it. Now he's not piloting it. He's just in it, and it's just floating away. Well, that's Catweazle. That's the end of Catweazle for you. Now, there was at the time a talk of actually doing a third series of Catweazle that would see him reunited with Carrot. And that would have hopefully rectified my dissatisfaction with the ending of the first series, because that really did bother me, especially when you got someone like Catweazle, who is genuinely a kind soul, but he's guarded and he looks after himself. But he was trying to teach Carrot magic, just as he thought Carrot was trying to teach him magic. And with the second series containing the quest, moving forward episode by episode, I felt like the conclusion of that storyline, whether they went to a third series or not, was actually rather thin, because what he needed to finish his quest with is one of those things that was staring at you in the face the whole time. And I just thought that wasn't as good. But, maybe as a 8-year-old, I would have thought it was fantastic. That's kind of what it is. Now, some things I like to talk about when it comes to these releases, these series, because, I just love the shows as a whole. What did I think of the title sequence to Catweazle? And the thing is that Catweazle has this fun title sequence, and even the color scheme here matches that of the title sequence, where it's just very simple but fun animation of Catweazle falling through time, and it tells the story of Catweazle like very quickly. And even though the first episode starts in his own time, every week you're going to just kind of be reminded, oh, that's right, that's what Catweazle is about, because we get the little story beforehand. The animation of Geoffrey Bayldon as Catweazle is kind of, some of Catweazle's grumpy, dissatisfied looks is captured so well. And I think it's a really fun opening sequence. And it stays the same for both series, only with the supporting cast being switched out, and that's totally fine. Now, also, what about the theme music? And the theme music itself is horrifically catchy. It's very fun. It's very bubbly. It's kind of jumping around. It's actually a real good swing to it. It's you could have expected Catweazle to be like more of like a medieval opening or something. It's just really a lot of fun. And so the way I watch these shows is that if it's a 25-minute show, I'm going to watch 2 episodes a night, Monday through Thursday. And if you watch a lot of it in a short amount of time, that theme is going to stay with you forever. And it's one of those things that I actually really did enjoy. It's really fun theme, and it just kind of kept my interest. It just really goes to show it's actually a pretty well made program. Do I have a favorite episode of Catweazle? Like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of fantastic guest stars in this show, from Hattie Jakes to Kenneth Cope, Brian Wilde, Patricia Hayes. But one of my favorite episodes is the one where John Ringham played a dual role in an episode called The Familiar Spirit in Series 2. He is so great in it, and he really gets in the spirit of things, but both of his characters are different, very different, and he plays it very well. I've always been a big fan of John Ringham. Um, and it's a lot of fun to watch when you get a good guest star playing off of Geoffrey Bayldon. Another one I really enjoyed as well, and there's a lot of them that have some great guest stars, but Paul Eddington was an episode called The Heavenly Twins, and he is fantastic in it, and Geoffrey Bayldon is just seeing Geoffrey Bayldon with any of these actors is a treat, and that's something that did keep me wanting to come back to Catweazle more and more and more. There isn't an episode that I don't like, but I remember watching, and this might be controversial. I remember watching the first episode of Catweazle with Carrot trying to give Catweazle a bath. And although it was meant to be innocent, it was shot in a different time. It's still just kind of creepy to watch. Just sorry. I know it's not meant to be that way, but that's what it's all about. Because this is on the ITV network, Catweazle would be in TV Times, and there is some really fun things in TV Times. Some of it actually appears on this set, which we'll get to in a second. But the thing about TV Times is that there was some stuff in there written by Catweazle. It was one of those things that they had fun with it, and of course, all the TV Times listings. Now, what I do when I'm going to do these stories or these series on video, if you sign up for my Patreon at a certain amount, you'll have access to all of the TV Time listings for Catweazle and all the printed materials that I use to make this video. It'll be there if you want it. It's fun to look through. I will say that. Let's walk through previous releases of Catweazle, okay? The entire series was released on VHS from Network back in 1998. Now, that's the crazy thing about it, right? Is Network going far back, and was a lot released on VHS. I always think of Network as primarily like DVD and then Blu-ray, but that's not the case at all. And so I ended up getting one of the volumes on VHS of Catweazle because I wanted to kind of check out the quality. I do this sort of thing. I like to compare qualities and whatnot, and I found a reasonably priced VHS. This is Volume 1 of Catweazle. It has 3 episodes on it, plus Brother in Magic, which is we'll get to that in a second. And so I was like, this is fine, and I got it. And it is a NTSC converted dub of Catweazle. I did get it from someone in the U.S., so although I don't like it, that is what this is, and that's just how it goes. But check out this opening for Network, so different back in the 90s. But we'll still use this when we compare quality of video in a bit, but it's kind of a disappointment. So now let's talk about DVDs for Catweazle, because what we have here is a complete set of Catweazle. And this, when I said that I was picking up a lot of releases, by the time I was doing that, a lot of these series that had individual releases were now being combined into like one set. So the first series of Catweazle was released on Region 2 DVD back in May of 2005 with the short reunion documentary Brothers in Magic. Now this, we saw it, is on the VHS from 1998. And it was when I watched it on the DVD, I did kind of wonder how long back it was, because everyone looked pretty young. I mean, really young on it. And there's also audio commentaries on the DVDs, on selected episodes by Richard Carpenter, Geoffrey Bayldon, Davis, executive producer Joe Whitby. And the second series was released then in August of 2005. So they were both released fairly quickly. On the 29th of March 2010, the series was re-released in the UK to commemorate the 40th anniversary. Now, among several other additional features were a Westbourne Museum image gallery named after the small local museum in the episode called The Curse of Rapkin, which also starred Peter Sallis, another great guest star in there. And this was featuring most comprehension collection of original Catweazle memorabilia and promotional ephemera assembled. And the release of the 40th anniversary special edition DVD set was also accompanied by a commemorative publication, The Magic Book, by Simon Wells and Paul Burt. Robin Davis, who played Carrot, died just before its publication on the 22nd of February 2010 at the age of 56. The publication includes an article by Pert about the longevity of Catweazle phenomenon entitled A Magical Spell in the Countryside, which contained Robin Davis' last recorded comments about the series that made him a star and about his special friendship with Bayldon. The DVD Image Gallery also recorded the occasion of their last meeting at an annual commemorative event held at the farm in East Clandon, Surrey, where the first series was filmed in the summer of 1969. I'd like to show you the book. And, once again, this is where Network had always really excelled, was having these wonderful books made. And, this seems like a huge book, but by the time Network was done, they were getting Andrew Pixley to write, like for Python, there were 4 books, and each one was, in excess of 200 pages. So really incredible stuff here, just amazing. Let's talk about the quality of the episodes themselves, though. So, Catweazle, I believe Catweazle was on a 16 millimeter film. I mean, that seemed to be the usual for the time, and they're fine for the show, and it's fine for the DVD sets. Now, there's obviously no restoration work done to the episodes, and this is something that by the time we get to the end of Network as a distributor, I think just about everything had some work done on it to some extent. I suspect for Catweazle, some prints were worse than others. You could tell. It's also interesting to note that on some of the opening episodes, you could see that they took part of the opening episode before that episode specific information would come up. They would take it from a different episode, and that might be because the quality might have been jumbled at the start of the episode or just not good. I don't know, but it's clear that some edits were made. These would have been taken from viewing prints. I have no idea if negatives exist for this. My guess is that they probably do, but this look incredible if it got an HD release with a new scan. The problem is, of course, who's going to do it now? And that's, in these videos, when we talk about Network, that's going to be an unfortunate theme going forward, because their demise is still very much thought of in the industry. It's such a shame, but there you go. That's how it is. Now the cover for Catweazle, I'm going to put this back in here just before we get too far. I mean, this is basically how the discs are. Nothing too terribly unique there. It's a 5-disc set. The cover for Catweazle is an amalgamation of the 2 sets that came out, and once again, it has the same green as the opening titles and the logo for the show. And I've gone on record before saying when you use the logo for the show for the DVD or Blu-ray release, those are points in my favor. I really don't like when you don't use the proper logo for the show. And probably, and I think I've said this in another video, probably the biggest shock about that, not using the correct font for a release for a TV show, in my mind, is only when I laugh. That font is so, to me, so connected to the show, yet they don't use it for the release in the UK. I don't understand how that is, especially since the VHS releases used it. Anyway, I think I've talked about that before. What can you do? So this is a classic network DVD release that gets a series people want to see released on home media. And that's what network always did best. They took these, they're kind of like, they picked up British television of shows that the BBC couldn't release because they weren't BBC shows. That's how I always looked at network, even though network did a ton of BBC programs as well. It's just one of those things that that's what network did best. And it made mainly non-BBC material available to people like me who wanted to see them. You know, there was a point that people would be like on different forums I'd read and stuff like, what else is there for network to release? They seem to release just about everything. Of course, there is always stuff to be released. And of course, there's always stuff that people forget about. And then you see it getting released. You're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So network probably would never have run out of things to release, but they certainly made a tremendous dent in British television. Just tremendous. And like I said earlier, you know, this is a release as before network basically tried to have some kind of restoration done to it. It, you know, I am one of those people that don't mind seeing stuff in its original pre-restored state. It doesn't bother me. I mean, do I like seeing stuff like Doctor Who restored? Absolutely I do. Or Python restored? Absolutely. But I also can appreciate that sometimes you can't restore everything, and I'm glad that network released this instead of waited until someday we'll restore it and then end up going out of business. We got it, so that's great. And you know, it's still high quality. It still looks good. It's not like a film print that's, you know, 30 generations down or something. These are good viewing prints, and this is what would still been on TV, you know, back in the day. It's probably the same. I don't know this, but it's probably the transmission tape or transmission prints. I don't know, but it's not impossible. It's more than good enough for me to enjoy. Let's put it that way. So my rating on this release is that, and I go from highly recommended to all the way down to not recommended. And this is, to me, this is recommended. And I know that there's going to be people who are going to disagree with me on this because they love the series so much. But, you know, it's just, you just have to, it really comes down to if you like children's shows and if you like wizardry, if you like medieval, if you like, you know, a lot of kids in your shows, I guess. I don't know. And so I recommend this. I certainly think that people should, if they're interested in it, they should check it out. I don't think they'll be disappointed. One of the things I also want to quickly do is talk about some of the other stuff. Like when I watch a show, I might go and try to find like books or soundtracks or something for that show because I like to collect. I love to collect stuff connected with series. So for Catweazle, there were 2 paperbacks written by Richard Carpenter and released. This is one of them. I do not have both of them, but this is one of them. And I think this was released, published around the time of the first series. I could be wrong on that, but looks like John David Wilkinson, this is your book. If you ever wanted to know what happened to it, I apparently have it now. And this is really cool. And there's illustrations in the book too. You know, it just makes everything it's that connection. To me, it's always about the connection, just like the TV Times listings, just like the books and stuff. There's just a connection to kind of fulfill the whole series, and that's the sort of thing I love. There is also, of course, as we talked about, the bootleg VHS that I bought in good faith, mind you, and that in fact it's it's not what we think it is. It's just a converted VHS dub is all it is. That's okay. I like the cover, even though the cover is just a color photograph. But then I have this interesting thing. Years ago, a good friend of mine in the UK named Alan, I had written some articles for some books that he was putting out. So, he would, on occasion, edit books that had articles from people like me who love television and want to write about certain stories or series or whatever else. And I'm not even sure if I had Catweazle as a series in my collection yet, but he had reached out to me and wanted to know if I wanted to write an article on Catweazle. And I seem to think I might have had the set, but I thought to myself, I am not going to watch it just so I can write some kind of article. And at the same time, I also felt like the book itself is meant to be a love letter for Catweazle, for the series. So it seemed pretty wrong of me to quickly watch a series so I can write an article on it. The whole purpose of it, the way that I took it at least, was that it was meant to be a celebration and your fond memories and recollections of it, as well as, reviewing a story or something like that. So I did decline to submit an article to it, and but I still ended up getting the book. And this is the book right here, and it's called "'Tis Magic: Our Memories of Catweazle," and celebrating 50 years of Catweazle. And that must mean that this is actually, I thought this is much older than it really is. This was published in 2019. For some reason, I thought this thing was published way back earlier. It just goes to show how you kind of lose your touch of time, I guess. But I don't know if this is still available or not. But there's a lot of great pictures and stuff, and it's a very, very beautiful book. I'm very impressed by it, and I'm very happy to have it in my library. And now, after watching the series, I should actually go back and reread this, or not reread. I should go back and read this book, because I think it will perhaps give me a better appreciation for the series, even though I do like it. To see it through the eyes of people who adore it, I think would be a lot of fun. Let's take a look at the between the VHS and the DVD of the releases by Network from 1998 to 2010. It's a bit unfair because we do know that mine is a PAL conversion to NTSC, yet at the same time it's film, so that helps a little bit. Let's see if see any difference whatsoever between the two releases.
Come on.
Oh. Oh.
So is this series worth your time? If you like wizards and a hint of medieval storytelling, I think it is. It is silly at times, but most of the time it's fun. And as I said before, it is very much a children's series, but what you really want to look out for is Geoffrey Bayldon, and I thought that Carrot is a great character, actually, very respectable, but also very fun spirit, a little mischievous. Really enjoyed that's why I think I enjoyed the first series a little bit more than the second series. But it's if you have a chance to check it out, I think you should, especially the first few episodes. And if you end up watching any of it, especially if you watch some of this because of this video, please reach out, let me know. And once again, I do a Patreon, and the Patreon, you get different levels, and you get a lot of exclusive videos. And the videos that I make go to Patreon before they go to YouTube or anywhere else. At the time of recording this, Doctor Who on BBC Video, The 10th Planet Part 1, has been up on Patreon for about a month. So this stuff gets up there basically as soon as I make a new video, I put it up on Patreon, and then the previous video gets a release to the rest of the public. You also have access to TV and radio times listings. You also get videos that I am not posting anywhere else, such as my War Games presentation over at Console Room back in January of 2025. So please consider going over to Patreon, and it starts as low as $3 a month, and it truly helps me. I'm very surprised how much it actually really does help keep the channel going. In fact, I want to say thank you right now to those who have been supporting me. And as we are finishing up here, I just want to say, if you have any feedback for me, I always love reading the comments in the comments section, but also you can send me an email. Please do so, and let me know. Let me know what you think about Catweazle, and if you have any corrections, please send me a polite email. I'm always open to corrections and feedback, especially if you feel like I am having a go at your favorite series growing up as a child. I do not mean to, but I would love to hear what you have to think about it. And as for old Catweazle over here, I think what I can do is finally put him back on the shelf where he belongs and move on to the next series.